main actor is Hamlet. While we were working on this, we looked at actually how many words the character of Hamlet says during the play. It's about 4,000. Richard, without any help from other actors, in this piece covers twice that territory. I should also say that perhaps sometimes people are a little bit surprised because they think of a one-man show as a monologue, you know, somebody sitting on a stool in a single spotlight or something. But we have said all along that this would not be a monologue. It's a one-man. You wouldn't pay for any other actors, the Lloyd George that Richard would like to be, in a sense, not just a historical Lloyd George, but Richard's Lloyd George. And I then shaped the script to fit that Lloyd George, and Richard said... it was over a period of 2 weeks. Yeah. I'd go home and come back and there'd be three more pages. And it was very exciting because each time Richard would come back and we'd do the 3 pages and move them about a little bit, and then Richard would say, "What happens next? What happens next?" And I'd have to think up what happened next. So it's been, in that sense, it's been a real collaboration and a very unusual process that was just...
But it was amazing because when he wrote the script, he just wrote it from memory because he'd been studying Lloyd George for the year before, and then just reading everything about him. And when he put it all down, it all came out of his head. It didn't come out of books. It was all out of... So he's an amazing mind that can just keep all these facts and, you know.
Well, I think the thing is, so Richard didn't want to do an impersonation monologue, and I didn't want to do what, if it was done for telly or radio or film, you'd call a biopic. You know, I didn't want to do Lloyd George was born at a very early age and went on from there. So what we found was interesting was taking a whole set of key facts and then developing mind and heart, really, I suppose, the mind and heart of our Lloyd George and how he might have presented himself if he were given that opportunity. And the sea gives him that opportunity.
It's looking into him as soon as we started.
It's hard to kind of explain what happens, but an actor like Richard, it seems to me, doesn't do a part. He inhabits the role that's been created for him, and in this case, I hope you agree with me. I mean, I think he inhabits it extraordinarily. You know, it just is a full person that you see.
I generally don't know what's happening next. The next line just pops in.
Just pours out.
That's how it works, isn't it?
So the truth is...
If you can relax that way, then but there's so much to worry about that there's no point worrying. Where would you start?
Yeah. So, I mean, if the question is there any improvisation? The answer is no, really. I mean, we did our improvisation during rehearsals, and it has to be absolutely on, because the difference is if you've got a cast of performers, then the actor is working against another actor who is constantly giving cues. And in this piece, Richard really has to get on the tracks and keep going on them. And it's particularly, I mean, I can say as the writer, the thing is, that is particularly difficult because the style of the writing is elliptical. You know, it goes, and you'll notice there are things that are repeated. And those repeats are very, very difficult because it's like coming to a junction that you sort of recognise. And if you take the wrong turning there, then you're gone. Yeah. So the feat of concentration is absolutely extraordinary.
The first 2 pages have been horrendously difficult to learn because of the sea. Her eyes, the colour of sea. I kept jumping to the wrong bits, so it was all right.
I'm asking in Welsh that Pa ran gys i fwynhau fwyaf, ti'n meddwl, i ti gyflwyno yn y perfformiad i gyd? Pa ran gys i fwyaf ar ohono fo?
Dwi'n meddwl y darn a Mair, dwi'n meddwl, yna dy'r un sydd yn cyffwrdd yng nghalon i bob tro, di pan mae'n siarad am ni. Mae'n siarad am i ferch, oedd o wedi effeithio arno fo, dwi'n meddwl. Oedd nhw'n agos iawn. Ac hefyd oedden ni'n meddwl falle bod hynna'n un rheswm pam oedd o'n rhedeg ar ôl merched. Dwi'n meddwl, chwilio am ryw gysur o ryw fath. Mae'n dweud, if you cannot have joy, you can at least allow yourself the distraction of pleasure. Dwi'n hynna'n drist, mae'n ffordd. Yn lein, lyflu.
Ond ar nodyn personol, sori bod fi'n siarad rwan, ar gryw yn dod o ardal Pen Llyn fan hyn.
Ie.
A o'n i'n just gweld, o'n i'n gweld y fam fyna, yn golygu ti hynna, fel personol o fanna.
Yn rhyfedd iawn, mae mam di marw hwnna, 2 flynedd, o'n i fod i wneud o 2 flynedd yn ôl, ond y mam yn sbyty yn Ceanarfon, wedyn wnaethon ni lwyddo i wneud o flwyddyn dwytha fel one-off yn Dylan Thomas. Dylan Thomas Centre, we did a one-off. Ond oedd mam yna i weld y darlleniad cyntaf, so mae hynna'n neis. He preferred to see more of what did you see?
Celebration, yeah. And I think that
there is a play there. You know? That would be a man standing there giving a speech in Parliament. You know, that would be a thing in itself. You know?
I think I should just say, why did we think that there was a play in Lloyd George rather than a presentation? And it is precisely because, and the gentleman over there said, how did I get involved? I was fascinated as an outsider by the fact that Wales and Britain are so divided about Lloyd George. Because from a world perspective, he's quite simply a great man. The world doesn't think. There are maybe two Welsh figures of the 20th century that the world knows. They're Dylan Thomas and Lloyd George. I'm sorry if you feel that they should be others, but that's probably what the world sees. And I found it really interesting that there was this man who has divided the country as much as he has, or the countries. And but that's why there's a play there, because drama depends on conflict, and this is a man whose conflict is within him, and that makes it dramatic. That's what makes a play. That's why we can, I hope, present the greatness. Great is an interesting word, isn't it? The greatness of the man and the weakness of the man, and have them fighting. People sometimes say, well, how do we feel about Lloyd George? What's the answer? We don't really know. It's a conflict. He would not have been able to say any of those things, but the idea of the endless sea, and I like the idea of the fact that he could be on the beach at Antibes, and if he's on the beach at Antibes on the occasion of his 50th wedding anniversary, how do you relate that to Wales? Well, you do it through the sea, because it is the same sea. One of my favourite lines is, if you'd been on the beach.
If you'd been in Tremadog Bay when I was 27C.
Yes.
And you may well have been, I suppose.
Yeah, and I just love that, the idea that the same water may have been there, and that's just, I just like it. I'm afraid, I think because the technicians need to go, we need to wrap up. We maybe take one more question for Richard, and we'll be in the bar afterwards if anybody wants to talk to us. Yeah. I'll be having a lemonade.
Are you likely to do another one on Dylan Thomas?
I've already done a play about Dylan Thomas called Chelsea Dreaming, which is a conversation between Dylan and the Chelsea Hotel. Chelsea Hotel gets the better of him. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.